Julie Bryant-Fisher. I'm the Chief Experience Officer with the Technology Association of Georgia. I'm joined today by Nils Pedersen with Stibo Systems. So we're excited to get this conversation off and running. It's nice to have you here today. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
I'm so interested in learning more about Stibo Systems, and we're so grateful that you're a member of TAG. It's nice to have you. So tell me about what the company does and a little bit about yourself and how you got started with the company.
Right. So I'm Nils Pedersen, VP of Product Strategy with Stibo Systems. I have been with Stibo Systems since '94, and I've been in Atlanta since '95. So the majority of my time has been in Atlanta. It's a nice tech city to be in. So our company does called Master Data Management, and that may be a little strange to people too. Like, what does that mean? So an example would be product data, customer data, supplier data, locations. Even with that, what does that mean? Well, everybody knows when you go to an e-com site and you're buying a product that there needs to be good product data behind it. So if you want to run a business efficiently, you need to have good data through an entire company. So master data really covers everything that your company needs in order to run efficiently.
You know, I have a question about that. Could you run us through an example of what one of your clients would use your services for and sort of the journey of those services, sort of why they might come to you and then what sort of success you might expect on the end?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're using an example of a company that everybody's familiar with, in particular in Atlanta. So the Home Depot is one of our clients, and they have used our software for many years. So Home Depot, we know their stores. Many of us know their website, and many of us use their mobile application as well. So you can buy a lot of products in the stores. You can buy even more products on their website. You can buy products on their mobile app.
Yeah, the washer and dryer I just got, right?
Yes, so. Me too, actually. So all that good content, you're doing the research, all the content about the products, the features, the benefits, all the detailed information. You probably need to make sure that your washer and dryer fit into the right space and height and all of that. So Home Depot uses our software to collect all of that information from their vendors.
So that's technically master data management,
right? That is master data management.
All of the data that would come in, you would need to sort of filter that, make sure that it's reaching the customer in the right way. Mm-hmm. How does this tie into customer experience? So
customer experience is many different things.
Right.
So I typically look at, we're all familiar with bad customer experiences when we get frustrated. I'm a little special, so when I become frustrated, I look at that as an opportunity. There's something that's broken somewhere. So what is it that's broken? And it's typically some IT system or maybe some master data that's missing somewhere. So if you get the wrong product sent to you because it had the wrong dimensions, well, that's technically master data that was wrong.
Okay. So we can trace it back to that.
Right. So that's one aspect of customer experience, but we can add a little bit more. So when you go to a website, you're expected to be presented with products that are relevant to you. So a good customer experience would be that the website actually figures out who you are and what your interests are, or you can pick them. So that's more personalized experience rather than being presented with every product in the world.
So you guys are part of why the certain pair of shoes follows me around until I buy it?
That's the advertising aspect of it, but if we do it right, or the companies do it right, it's the pair that you really love, not just a pair of maybe soccer cleats.
Yeah,
so if you do it right, so good customer experiences, that's the right product that is following you around, as well as being provided to you maybe as a part of digital marketing in an email. So.
That makes sense. I want to back up just a second and talk a little bit about sort of how Stibo got to know Atlanta, why you decided to come here. You mentioned that Georgia's quite a hot tech state. So was that part of the decision to locate here?
So we're from Denmark, right? So have you ever been to Denmark? Denmark is a little cold and dreary, and particularly this time of the year. But there are many aspects of why we chose Atlanta. Transportation is one. We got at Hartsfield Airport. You can get to pretty much everywhere in the world in either maybe direct or one hop. There's a lot of talent here. If you need to pick up good employees, you got Georgia Tech, many other universities that are feeding into Atlanta. So that's another aspect of it. And the weather's nice.
It is nice. A little hot sometimes in the summer compared to Copenhagen, right?
Sure.
But nice. And Hartsfield makes it even nicer for businesses. You know, I wondered if you could talk to us about some of the trends. Let's move to trends for master data management. So that's probably not a term that everybody's immediately familiar with, but as you've described it, we can all get there in terms of understanding what it does and how it helps us in our day-to-day lives. So what would you say are some of the most important trends that your clients are experiencing or customers are experiencing when it comes to master data management? What does the future look like too?
Right. So we touched on customer experience previously, and if we look at the customer experience in general, and we mentioned the Home Depot, chances are that you're interacting with a company and you want to do it in whatever way is convenient to you. So 1 second you can be on the mobile app, another time you can be in the store, maybe on the website, or you get information sent to you. So companies are really looking at this like a new omnichannel. Omnichannel used to be that you had print, you had website, and you may have point of sales. But now omnichannel means we as consumers, we would want to be whatever's most convenient to us. And the companies that do it really well, which is actually not that many yet, you can go into a store, you may be able to look things up on your mobile phone while you're in the store. Maybe something is not in stock, and you'll be able to see if another store has it in stock.
Oh.
So you're looking at tying all of these different things together, so you make it smooth and convenient to consumers.
That would be fantastic. And so that's sort of the picture of the future. I'll be able to walk into Target or Home Depot. If I've been looking for that washer and dryer from Home Depot, I did all my research and I decided this was the one, and the Home Depot sells it, and I get there and discover I can't find it. I could look on my mobile device and realize, oh, it's at another store, or they could order it for me and things like that.
And chances are, if you went through the same experience that I went through, they don't have all of their models in the store, and the one that you wanted. I was in the store and shopping online on Home Depot's site at the same time, as an example.
And that's powerful. You mentioned that there aren't a whole lot of companies that are doing this really well right now.
Right.
This is sort of a trend that you all have captured and you're working on this.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about how you all are going to grow. Like, what's the growth trajectory look like for a company that works in this area?
Right. So our growth comes from the initiatives that we have, or our customers and prospects have going on. And what they're really looking for is, I call it business agility. So in order to do new kinds of business. And in order to do that well, you need to have all of your data in one place. So if you're thinking about, we want to do something new and it involves talking to, well, then we need to use Mark's spreadsheet, and we need to use Angela's Access database, and when they're back from vacation next week, maybe we can do this thing. That's not a very efficient way to run a business. And in order to do it better, what you would need to do is bring all of that into one place where it's accessible, and you can develop new kind of business models around that. So that's key, that you have the ability to implement and do new things as a business, and master data is always involved.
How long have you been working in technology in this space? Is this something you've been around for a long time?
Well, our company is 224 years old. So,
okay, that's a long time.
But the subsidiary is really only 40 years old. And it was all analog at the time. So, but now the assumption is it's all digital.
Yeah.
So a trend is like digital conversion. But what companies really doing, they're not converting from analog to digital. They're converting to digital, but then they're adding on and doing more things.
What's been surprising to you? You've been in this space for a while. You've seen how this has gone from analog to digital. What are some of the examples that you could think of in your head, just of things where you were like, wow, that's a tremendous advancement for technology, or that's a tremendous advancement for our clients or for Stibo? What's surprised you?
So I think one of the areas that are on the forefront of this is travel and hospitality.
Okay.
So I do travel a fair bit for work. So if you think about the airlines and how efficient that they are, I remember in '95 you had to have a boarding pass, and you most of the time couldn't even get a boarding pass till you showed up at the airport. You think about how you're self-serving and everything is online and digitized. They are running very, very efficient compared to what they used to do. And I see the companies that we deal with, they're going the same direction.
Yeah, I can remember that too.
Yes.
I mean, it's still shocking to me when I go to the airport and I still want to go up to the counter. I don't need to anymore.
Right.
I can just do it on my phone. They tell me when to check in and what gate to go to. But it's a huge savings in time and efficiency. And so master data management is what controls all that.
It is at some level. So if you think about, you can change seats, what seats are available, what seats do you have to pay for based on your level. There's so many different programs that are in play, and it's all because you can do things digitally. And other companies in retail, distribution, manufacturing are doing similar things in order to run their business more efficiently.
So what are some things that might be next for Stibo? Talk to me a little bit. We've talked about some trends and sort of an example of a really good customer experience. What do you suppose are the next frontiers for the company, or just anything you'd like to talk about in terms of what's next for Stibo?
So if we look at outcomes and what we do, so we manage each individual. So we manage the customer well, we manage the product well, we manage the supplier well. But where the value really is when you start tying these things together. So you may manage what product is available at a specific store, and you do that more efficiently. And you also look at where you're taking, today when you buy a product, that's a transaction and you're done. But tomorrow it may be that you're buying just as a service. So that people we remember that you bought this product. You maybe didn't even buy the product, you're just leasing it. So more of a, what can I call it, a subscription. So you subscribe to things. You really don't want to own it. Leasing with cars, and where you long-term have warranty with services and supplies and so forth. It's things are going to be different. You can develop different business models when you can keep and remember the relationship with your customers and what products they bought.
So kind of concierge, a little personalized approach.
Yeah. So if you buy, I bought a refrigerator as well, and this thing is supposed to last forever. 3 months into it, it started beeping. Right? It needs a new water filter.
Like, the water filter.
Yes.
Right.
I don't know what water filter.
I don't know either.
But imagine you not only buy the refrigerator, but you buy a subscription to go along with it, where a water filter just shows up at your house every 3 months, or maybe the refrigerator able to talk back and say, hey, the water filter shows up and you replace it.
Yeah, it is, and that's something we see now. I mean, when I talk about Home Depot and you walk in, there are the screens on the front of the refrigerators now that'll tell you what's inside, and so the next step is, I'm going to tell you when I need a water filter, and all you have to do is say, order one.
Or you will just order it itself.
Yeah, and
because you're subscribing to it. So we see a lot of subscription models, everything being connected, and you can think of the business models that you can come up with when everything is connected.
So you guys are sort of driving a whole new world for us, right? This is a new frontier.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this company is going to help us all walk into this new digital future and have a better, experience as customers and ease of life and all that stuff. You know, we thought we were starting with Alexa, but we're just touching the tip of the iceberg, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So much more to come.
It's interesting how consumers are already expecting it, and the companies are trying to catch up with expectations that the consumers have.
That's something that's really real. We've kind of gotten spoiled, haven't we?
Absolutely.
I don't know about you, but I'm going to go ahead and admit to you that I had a rotary phone when I was growing up. So it's really funny to see my son, who's 9, who has no idea, and we all joke about that, right? They have no idea what a rotary phone looks like, but how fast we've advanced. But in the process of advancing, we've kind of gotten used to it. We've gotten a little comfortable with being served up all these things. And it's interesting to hear you say how much companies have to focus on just getting ahead of those expectations. How does Stibo do that? Like, how does a company pivot to make sure that they're staying ahead of the customer's expectations? Because we're so spoiled, and we're not very nice when we're customers either, you know?
That's very true. We are very demanding as consumers and customers. And I typically, when I fly, I'm a little bit of a prankster. So I would go up to if we're the flight delay or whatever it is, I would typically go to the flight attendant and say, it's all your fault. And you always get a chuckle out of that because they have nothing to do with it. But yes, we are spoiled as consumers. But the expectation is there. So we as consumers, everything should just be connected and working. Whereas behind the scenes, they're not just yet. So we are spoiled because we work with some of the largest companies in the world, and they became the largest because they've always been on forefront. So from our side of view, all we have to do is work with these customers, and they lead us in this direction. So.
It's really fascinating. Can you think of any other parts of the world or places that you've been where these things are sort of already there, where perhaps here in the States we're sort of at a certain level? Are there people that are ahead, or countries that are ahead, or companies or places that are ahead of this where we could look and say, oh wow, that's where we're going. We'll be there in a year or 5?
So no question that U.S., a lot of things are happening in the U.S. and happens in the U.S. first. But I was on a trip about a year ago. I was in China, and I was really surprised about how advanced China was with everything being connected. Everybody's doing smartphones, and all commerce was working through smartphones. So I felt in some areas China was actually ahead technologically when it came to the use of QR codes as an example. That's already been pretty much dead over here, but I think it's with the iPhone having it as native, QR code is on a big revival. And so definitely look to China for some of the innovation that's happening on the retail side, but in general, US is doing really well.
I did notice that. So you're talking about sort of a comeback for the QR code?
Yes.
I noticed on a Coke can just yesterday they had an activation around the holidays, scan, like you go to the website, then you scan. I thought, I haven't seen that in a while, so that must be the new version of QR codes. So it's interesting that, because
Right.
I really did think we'd sunsetted on that one. And
Right, and I got the tag renewal, no pun intended here, that I got from the Cobb County. It has a QR code on it, and I used my phone, and it took me straight to the place, and all I had to do was type in a few pieces of information. 3 minutes later, I was done with my renewal, whereas last year, it was like you need to go to some site, you need to put in some code and do all of these things. So certainly you look at this QR code as a shortcut to whatever you need to do, and I see it a lot. Even using QR codes when you are using your drink vouchers on a plane, you show them a QR code and
oh, that's
take
right.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
So you will see it more and more.
Or we're trying to get that glass of wine, right?
That's right.
The
Yes.
long flight.
Absolutely.
I wanted to go back just a bit more on Stibo and ask you what you're proud of about Stibo Systems, and what you think are some of your best accomplishments and successes for your customers, or just as a company as you're growing. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so I think I'm really proud of that we continue to renew ourselves and continue to innovate. I'm a long distance runner myself, and we have a notion that says relentless forward motion, right? So you always try to move forward. There's no resting. That you always have to reinvent yourself and look at what's coming in the future. And obviously we have that because the company is 224 years old. And I think we're doing really well. We're growing. We have many new customers, and it's. I think I'm proud of the longevity, and that we continue to prove ourselves as being a relevant company to do business with.
That's great. Quite a testament to Stibo Systems. Congratulations. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
I have a couple of off-script questions. So while we have you here, I thought I'd ask you a couple of just personal interest things. So I love to ask people the books that they've read recently, and that's my only one. I won't do any further than that. Just if you can share with us in the audience sort of any books that you've read recently that you would recommend, either about technology or just personal books that you liked.
So I have to admit that I don't read many books.
You're a podcast fan?
I am not a podcast fan either, but what I do like to get on, and maybe inspired by my kids, I do like to get on YouTube sometimes on a Sunday morning, and just see what's out there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be about product strategy, and sometimes I nerd out a little bit to see what's happening within the industry. But I don't necessarily subscribe to any podcasts, but sometimes just like browsing around and educate myself on what's happening with random stuff on like a Sunday morning.
Yeah, I think we all like to nerd out on YouTube. It's kind of the rabbit hole you can go down and drift around for a while. So.
Yes, and I swear that my kids don't ever watch TV, but they're watching something all the time. So.
Yeah, that's really true. Well, is there anything I haven't asked you that we'd love to talk about Stibo or technology or tag or anything you'd like to mention that we haven't talked about so far?
So I think it's interesting to see what technology can do for you, but not the other way around. So I like to see it's like when you do IT initiatives, what's the business value or what's the business aspect of it? Sometimes we as technologists like, okay, well, that's a really cool thing to do, but if you want it to be really successful, you have to start with what it is that you want to do as a business. And that's what we do at Stibo Systems. When we get involved in our customers and projects, we always look at what's the business driver behind it. Because if we know we can tie ourselves to a business driver, then what we do, it's going to be successful.
That makes a lot of sense. I've really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
I enjoyed talking to you too, Julia.
Thanks.